I was wrong about Mafia the Old Country. Now it's a decent game, but there are some flaws especially in the story that I'll discuss in this video. My IGN score prediction was also wrong cause they gave it an 8, but in my defense, who really gives a fuck about them anyway? Now do keep in mind that this is not a traditional review per se, it's just my thoughts on the game, some straight up facts that might help you make a decision if you're still on the fence about buying it. I've covered the gameplay mechanics and features in a previous video, so I'm not gonna waste your time by repeating myself just for those sweet watch hours. And don't worry, the video has no spoilers, let's dive in. It's no surprise that the game looks great, and the Sicilian countryside looks absolutely beautiful. The cutscenes, the acting, and the music are the real strengths of this game. I mean, you can even see Enzo gulp when the Don is talking. Poor guy probably shat his pants. But anyways, paired with the seamless transitions between cutscenes and gameplay, these small details make the game truly feel high quality. And just look at this title drop. All the actors did a phenomenal job, especially John Santiago as Don Torrisi, aka Bernardo. This guy stole every single scene he was in. And now I kinda wanna Mafia the Old Dark Country following the story of Bernardo's rise to power. One more thing I really liked is how the world feels so alive and lived in. The NPCs aren't just randomly standing around, they talk and react to Enzo and feel like they have their own little lives, at least in the story mode. It's not groundbreaking, but to be honest, I wasn't expecting that, so it was a nice surprise. But in the free roam mode, the world is pretty much lifeless and empty, and aside from collecting a few things, there's nothing else to do. But to be honest, we all saw that coming. Anyways, let's talk about the gameplay. You might already know this, but a small team worked on this game for just 3 years, and with what they've achieved, they definitely deserve some credit and praise. I mean, we've already seen the $500 million debacle that Mind's Eye was, and this could have gone way worse. Anyways, there are many good action set pieces, there are knife duels, chase sequences, and shootouts, and the game keeps you hooked right until the third act where things kinda get a little stale, and I'll talk more about that in just a bit. Anyways, the knife duels are surprisingly good. Performing the perfect dodge and parry is a challenge, but when you time it right, it's pretty satisfying. However, there were times where the fight choreography felt lacking, like situations where one could easily stab the other by simply switching to a different grip, but I guess I've watched John Wick way too many times. Anyways, there's also a couple of racing missions that I'm not really a fan of because they were kinda scripted. And talking about races, the horse riding is just fine, nothing special, but the driving felt incredible. The cars feel heavy, slow to turn, the wheels lock realistically when you slam the brakes, and they really nailed the sound design. Now one more thing is, instead of just slapping in a crank starting animation, they actually made it into a mini game, which was a pleasant surprise. They didn't have to do that, but they did, and that's the kind of extra effort that makes all the difference. Now this is a subjective topic. Some people might like the story, some might not. But one thing's for sure, the game has a way of making you care for the characters. Enzo's no Arthur Morgan of course, but he's a well-written and genuinely likable main protagonist. In fact, all the characters are solid and well-written, and it feels like it's been ages since we've had that. These characters are not just shoved in to check boxes, they actually matter and shape Enzo's story. So no, there's no transgender romance option for Enzo, unlike some other AAA historical fiction games out there. Now the thing is, overall the story is pretty solid, but there are some flaws. The opening is great and really hooks you in. The build-up is slow and the game takes its time to make you feel for Enzo. You don't even shoot a gun until about 3 hours into the game. However, the third act is where things kind of fall apart. It feels way too stretched out. The last couple of chapters had filler missions that felt more like an afterthought just to pad the game's length, because otherwise the game is like 8 hours long. And even though the final chapter was great, the ending was a bit of a fumble. I do appreciate the fact that instead of playing it safe, they took some risks, but they don't really work. Now I'm not here to give any review scores, but what started as a 9 out of 10 ended as a 6 out of 10. I think they could have easily avoided the entire third act problem by not adding entire 1-year time skips in the middle chapters, because those time jumps came at the cost of nuanced character growth. The characters changed a bit too fast and the relationships never got fully fleshed out, which is a shame because the characters had great chemistry, and I really cared about the relationships Enzo was building. All the characters felt like real people with their own reasons and agendas to be there. If only you could spend some more time with them, the game would have hit entirely different. Instead of time skips, they could have added more laid-back missions like parties, picnics, or something else entirely just to show the characters bonding. It would have also been a great excuse to show off some more different locations of that beautiful map. But anyways, the story is engaging overall with a great cast of characters. It keeps you wondering what would happen next, and not many games are able to pull that off. Despite being a little rough around the edges, Mafia: The Old Country is a pretty good game. You can see the devs poured a lot of effort into this. Throughout the game, you get glimpses of the masterpiece it could have been, but it never fully gets there. One thing I really appreciate is there's no forced bullshit messaging or nonsense agendas shoved in there. At one point, Isabella becomes a playable character and she doesn't turn into some overpowered girl boss, which is actually a breath of fresh air. She struggles to take down enemies, and the devs handle that pretty well with unique animations and slight tweaks to stealth mechanics. Anyways, I'm not here to tell you whether you should or should not play this game, but would I recommend it? Absolutely yes. If you are into story-driven single-player games and have $50 just lying around, it's definitely worth it. Otherwise, wait for a sale. However, if you've already played Mafia: The Old Country, I'd love to hear your thoughts and whether you'd recommend it or not. I do hope this game performs well, because this will send the right message to the industry and because the devs deserve it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care.